Hello, it is July 27th, 2016, and once again I have to give you a news update because the media, News 12, is no longer, if you have been watching News 12, or I don't have cable, I have Fios, but a lot of places I go have News 12 and I watch it there. If you've been watching News 12, you notice since Altus took over, they no longer cover very much local news anymore. And so with all the local news going on today, they decide to talk about the convention, the Democratic convention, because they have now become a mouthpiece for Wall Street and Hillary Clinton. But we had, once again, major problems on the Long Island Railroad today that I want to bring you up to date with. A drunk driver in the early morning hours of Wednesday today crashed into the third rail. It happened because the drunk driver was crossing over the Urban Avenue crossing on the main line in Newcastle, in the Newcastle area of Westbury, and the drunk driver turned onto the tracks. The car contacted the third rail and caught fire, and this driver was charged with DWI. There are no details on who this individual was, but considering the area it's in, is a good bet is probably an illegal alien. So we're now going to look at some of the delays and the mess that was caused, because what happened was service was suspended for quite a while in the early morning hours, and limited service, mostly westbound only, peak direction, was restored for the bulk of the rush hour, but there were a number of cancellations and delays due to a result of that, and they were working on that track right into the midday.
All right, so we're going to look at the Long Island Railroad's Twitter this morning and take a look and see what happened here. You can see delays and cancellations because of the car fire, and this happened in the wee hours of the morning. So we're going to take a look now and see all the delays that occurred here, basically. Basically what happened, as you'll see, is limited service was restored, but then they suggested for people to use the Montauk Babylon branches. And I like what they have here. All stops will be made between Hicksville and New Hyde Park. That's very good, because there was limited service, and when there's limited service, that's what needs to be done so everybody is accommodated. So the railroad handled this, I think, much better than some of the other things that have happened over this past week. And then I don't really see too many cancellations on here. It's mostly just trains running late, because they had one track running, basically. They, like I said, they had mostly, westbound service. There really wasn't many cancellations going west. I think there was a few here. You can see the damage that was done. Well, we're going to take a look at that along the way here. So you can see all the delays. Luckily, they make all local stops, including the diesels. And some of the electrics from Huntington were actually replaced with diesels. So we're going to see that as we head up the thing. And then this is the next thing that happened here. Delayed at Lynbrook due to after striking an unauthorized person on the tracks. So, and then we had that shutting down the Babylon branch for a while. And so as you see here, they did cancel that reverse peak train from Penn due to Ronkonkoma because, again, there was only one track available and it was being used for westbound service only. So, yeah, you can see the other thing. So, a real mess this morning, as you see here. A real mess going on here. A huge, huge mess. You can just scroll through this. Big delays, but you can see that a number of these trains were actually replaced by diesels. I want to show you here one of these that was, let's see, that one, the Port Jeff train did run actually, though. I'm surprised that they did run that, a reverse peak train right there. I was surprised they did that. And they did actually restore some train eastbound service later on. You can see here all the delays here, so just looking at all these here. There are a lot of delays this morning. I want to show you the one that was, you can see them working here. There were a number of Huntington trains on here that were replaced with diesels. Basically, what they did was the Port Jeff train that would run from Port Jeff, instead of transferring to an electric, it continued on as a diesel. So I think there were a few here that were. I can't. There's so many things here that I can't read all of them. So you have to understand why. Yeah, here we go. 910 from Port Jeff to Huntington, extended to Jamaica, and it had local stops. So I think they handled this pretty well, considering. And this is what happened. As you can see why the service was suspended. Look at this damage. They had to completely install new third rail. Somebody just drove on the tracks, probably an unlicensed driver, probably somebody who's not here legally, causing all these headaches for all these people. Now, think if it was elevated. Here's another one. If this was elevated, this wouldn't have happened, and this is why we need the elevation of the main line. That's even more important than the third track, and this is them working here. But again, if this driver, who probably isn't in the country legally, considering the area, if he wasn't here, this probably wouldn't have happened either. So this is all the mayhem that these guys bring to life.
This is exactly why we need the main line elevated. Elevating the main line is all. Now, I do support the third track, but elevating the main line is more important than that. Even this should have been done years ago. The main line, it needs to be modernized. It is antiquated. Considering the amount of people who use it, it should have gotten the Babylon branch treatment. Let's face it, everybody wants the Babylon branch. We know it's the most reliable branch on the railroad because there are no grade crossings. However, before we go ahead and say that, it was reliable, and it's reliable. It was not this morning either, because guess what? There was double trouble. Not only did we have the problems on the main line, the Babylon branch was suspended this morning as well due to a person struck by a train in Lynbrook. So the Long Island Railroad, this was of no fault of the Long Island Railroad. There was really nothing they could have done to stop what happened today, other than, of course, if the main line had been elevated years ago, the drunk driver probably wouldn't have made it on the tracks. And this is exactly why we need a third track, but also, most importantly, this is why we need to get rid of these grade crossings on the main line. This should have been done years ago. They are dangerous. How could anyone claim that this project will make things more dangerous? It will make things less dangerous, and it will make things more reliable for commuters. And so what I think is that the Long Island Railroad should start work as soon as possible on the grade crossing elimination. That should come first before the third track, and then they can work on the third track. But it's clear that the main line, one of the most congested parts of the railroad, needs the grade crossings removed, especially in Westbury, where there are illegal aliens and illegal drivers all over the place, and not much is done about that. That's a political issue that I discussed. You saw in that video yesterday. So that is, and then we had a drug bust. So you can take a look. There was a big drug bust today. Probably take a guess. Most of these guys are probably illegals as well. So this is what they bring to Long Island, and this is why we need to vote for Trump. If Hillary gets in, we're going to be inundated with more of these guys. And the laws of supply and demand have already shown that the good areas on Long Island are getting a shorter and shorter supply, and they're getting snatched up by the Wall Street elite, by the wealthy, and therefore unaffordable to most people who aren't rich. Places, as I've talked about before, you know about that. So that is what is going on today. I figured I'd keep you updated on that. And let's hope there aren't any more Long Island Railroad crises this week.